Welcome to sunny side of San Diego.
It's the greatest city in the history of mankind. It's a fact.
Two local San Diegans that look at obstacles as an opportunity for growth.
If you don't fail, you're not even trying.
Michael Carini is the Acrylic Alchemist.
You can call me CEO
of Carini Arts. And Vicente, Vinnie, Enriquez.
No one could do it better.
The team lead of the Enriquez group.
Ride with us.
Hi, you sunny San Diego listeners. My name is Vinnie. We got Carini over there with his Nebraska crusher right now. So the title we did for this one was happiness, and I guess a little happiness. On a side note, it looks like California is gonna be opening up without any tears or anything like that, June 16th. Did you hear about that?
I heard something about them scaling back. I wasn't sure if they were going to completely do away with it. Does that mean that you can basically do anything and everything at that point? Does that mean that masks are not going to be a thing and limited capacities are not going to be a thing?
That's what I thought I read somewhere, saying that was the plan.
I'll be cautiously optimistic. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting. I saw something about the Padres too, where they're going to do the occupancy is going to be like 25%, but then they're going to offer like another like 25% or something like that for people that are vaccinated. So it'll be interesting to see kind of like until it fully opens up if people are going to be doing things like that. Because I know we had a long talk on our last episode about the idea of you getting vaccinated and not getting vaccinated and things like that.
Yeah.
But let's jump into happiness.
Yes, let's jump into it.
So I mean, what right now is making you happy?
It's something that I'm working on because I actually had a situation yesterday where I spend a lot of my time trying to find my own happiness, trying to navigate life, using my art and what I love to not only deal with my mental health and my physical health through things like working out, things of that nature, but running into obstacles where I feel bombarded by negativity, by people that just try to tear me down. And oftentimes it's tearing me down for sharing the things that I enjoy, like my art. I've been doing some of the Facebook groups lately, which is a new thing. I thought it'd be a new way and a good way to connect with people. And so the rules and the guidelines of sharing in the groups are that you can't say negative things to people. You have to be kind. You have to be respectful. And so I'll post things in there. And I posted something in there earlier this week, and it talked about how I was trying to challenge myself to let go and to do something simpler and wishing everybody a good day. And I cannot tell you how much crap and shit talk I got for my post. People saying, oh, is that art? People making fun of everything from what I was wearing to my physical appearance. Just people being fucking evil and awful for no reason. And it makes you wonder. It just makes you wonder a lot, really. And so that kind of was something that came to a head last night. And I posted about how I still enjoy making art, but I'm not sure how much I enjoy sharing it, because you put yourself out there. I use it as a tool to try to help other people find their voice and to help other people feel comfortable. And in the process, I just get torn to shreds for doing it. And it makes me want to sometimes not want to do it.
So what was the post that you put up?
Just me holding one of my paintings, wearing one of my shirts, and people just attacking me for no reason. Just, you could tell that they were angry, bitter people, but it still doesn't change things. And when you're already somebody that's neurodivergent and you have difficulty communicating with people and you put yourself out there, for people to just blindly attack you, it makes you not want to share. It makes you not want to put yourself out there. And I share this because I understand a lot of people that don't want to start putting themselves out there. And I'm somebody that does it on a regular basis. And I'm still affected by it. And you could say, let it go, focus on the positive. But when your brain is built a certain way, which mine is, letting go is a very difficult thing. And those negative things, it's very hard for them not to resonate when you're trying to find your happiness.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have quote unquote haters, critics, you're probably doing something wrong. I mean, I remember I did a video piece a while back, and this person was just like was talking shit, you know, and like, and I was like, what the heck? What did I do wrong? I mean, what did I say? How did that affect him so much? And I was talking to someone else, who like, you know what reality is they have nothing better to do. They're not doing anything with what's going on in their life. They might be disappointed with what's going on. I mean, I would say there's a big chunk of people that are not happy with the way they're going, and it's easier for them to basically knock someone else down than it is to raise themselves up. Right? So if you post something, you know, yeah, I mean, it can get kudos. I mean, you see it too with quote unquote celebrities where, and I mean, I've seen it, I know a couple times, is where the person talks shit to them on social media, and as soon as that person responds back to them, right, the celebrity or whoever it is, they basically go, oh yeah, I like you. I just was saying something, you know, just basically to get them riled up. Right. And so, I mean, it's sad. That's kind of how it is. But behind a keyboard, behind a computer, I mean, people are, I think, more inclined to knock you down, hate you, but face to face, I mean, that's probably not the case.
Yeah, it's definitely attention-seeking behavior, but it does damage nonetheless. And the fact that it's done so blindly, and the fact that people will do it not knowing your backstory, not knowing anything about you, not knowing maybe even or understanding what it is that you're sharing to begin with, but people are just so open to just tearing other people. And you're right, it's because those are people that don't have happiness themselves. But to an extent, as much as a lot of people want to fight, as much as I want to fight it, they do have some success in bringing you down a level. And I know that is supposedly in my hands, but in some ways it's more in my mind. And for me personally, that's only something that I can control so much. And so it does make me want to sort of separate and not continue doing some of the things that I do, or take a break from doing them. And it sucks because there are some people, I think, that enjoy these things and that find it helpful. And it feels like you're taking something away from them. But at the same time, you have to protect yourself to find your happiness, to find your peace.
Yeah, and that's, I think, because we've talked about it before. You know, we talked about in relationships, we talked about other things. Before you can basically allow someone to love you, you have to basically love yourself, right? And I think probably in those situations, you have to have such confidence in who you are as a person. And after that, you can basically help you protect the shots that you might get, right? And so, I mean, I look at the same time too. There's always going to be haters out there. There's always going to be someone that's going to be despising you, hating you. I mean, from the outside, right? So you have to have faith in what you're doing, have faith in your game plan, have faith in what you're doing, and remember those high moments. Remember those other people that have said, "Oh man, I love what you're doing out there," right? I mean, I talk about it, you know, quite frequently, that I'll do like quote unquote funny videos, right? That I think for the majority of someone that's doing the business that I'm doing in San Diego, you probably wouldn't see doing these kind of videos to make light of who they are. And I go, well, there's probably people out there that go, what are you doing? That's so stupid, right? Yeah, other people, I mean, they're just like, oh my gosh, I love what you're doing. And the same thing for your art. I mean, you have a rabid fan base, right? There's some people that just love what you do. And there's going to be people that despise it, think it's, you know, they don't like it. And so you have to remember the people that you're focusing on, the people that really love what you're doing. And I mean, the haters, let the haters be the haters.
I'm okay with people not liking it. I'm okay with people even saying that they don't like it, but it needs to be grounded in something. Tell me specifically what your issue is, or I want it to be based on something, but it's not. And I know that should diminish the validity of it, but in a way it makes it worse. People just throw things out there like, oh, is that art? Oh, you suck. Oh, and then the fact that people go into things like what you wear and your physical appearance. And I was talking to somebody the other day, because I think that there was some validity to this thought, that when somebody's first starting off, like say I go into one of these groups on Facebook and I'm just starting off, say I'm really out of shape, and I don't know, maybe I don't know if I am, but let's just hypothetically, and you put something up I think that people are very, very encouraging in that case. But I think that when you hit a certain point that you have some degree of success, that you're a certain level of good looking, I'm not saying that I am, but I'm just saying I think that generally speaking, if somebody is, and somebody's in a certain level of shape, that once a person reaches that level of things, that then rather than people being kind to them like they are to the person that's starting out maybe on a lower level, they attack this person because they're at that higher level and they're more established with something. And I think it is a reflection of their own insecurities, but it's just a really fucked up thing that people do that.
Well, I think what you said is it's on their own insecurities. And I think the really difficult part is if we all have, I think most people have their own insecurities, right? Some people lash out to make them feel better with regards to those insecurities. And other people, they work through them, right? They fight through those insecurities and they make themselves more of a solid person, right? The tough part about it is when you have those insecurities, right? And someone says stuff about you, but then maybe one of the things they say is about one of the insecurities that you have. That's when I think it makes it even more difficult because they're breaking through that shield.
I think that the people that do these things, they always try to go for the vulnerable points.
Yeah. So, and yes, this is the idea of we want to talk about being happy, right? So I think in those situations that someone's being maybe gets to you, you have to have that outlet to get the frustration out, get the anger out. I actually had someone on the podcast, a Road to Growth podcast the other day that was talking about the idea that there's the different stages of, I guess, like grief and that kind of stuff. You have sorrow, anger, and so on and so forth. That goes up the ranks. And you have to let yourself kind of go through those emotions if it really, I guess, affects you, and get a little angry, and then slowly over time just kind of like let it go. Again, we've talked about it before in these kind of ruts. Think about the positive moments, thinking about what you've done, and then getting a good workout in. That's usually works for me for the most part is thinking about those positives and getting a good workout in. And after that, over time, it'll kind of go away, those frustrations.
And I think that's what made it particularly difficult this past year was the limitations in terms of being able to do that. Now that the gyms are opened up again, for some reason, having the indoor workouts is night and day for me. I was feeling almost sick, feeling lethargic when we were forced to work out outdoors. I was thankful that we could, but I was starting to feel a very particular way, and I didn't know what was causing it. And then when they allowed us to go back indoors, I noticed that just like that, it was all coming back to me, and I was starting to feel a little bit better about things. So I'm really thankful for that. But I think that, on the quest for happiness, I think a lot of us were thrown a lot of deterrents, particularly this past year, because I think that a lot of the outlets that we had, the things that we used to manage our health and our wellness, in some cases were slowed or maybe even taken from us. And we had to find ways to adapt. And in some cases, for people like me, the means to adapt were not quite as good as the original means.
Yeah, so Easter was recently, by the time that we're recording this, it was last weekend. And that was a moment of happiness. A lot of my family has been vaccinated already. We got together. I got to see some of my nieces and nephews, and seeing the joy, the simple things of joy for them, brings happiness to me. that's, I think there's a couple things, like you have a win, right? You sell that property, or you basically you get your client in escrow after they've been looking at a lot of properties, or you sell that painting, whatever it might be. Those small little wins, can bring you happiness. And I think, family, at least for me, it brings me happiness. There's a couple things that I can kind of bring up, and that can bring you happiness, and you got to find out what that is for you. Bringing you happiness could be the enjoyment of watching a fun movie. Reading a good book.
And I think that, as you mentioned, with the opening up of things and the opportunity to reconnect with people, that it can not only perhaps bridge the gaps in the happiness that we've found this past year, but provide a new sense of appreciation for that. Because for some of us, in some cases, with some things, it's been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty interesting. I came across, I went to opening day with the mask on and everything like that with for the Padres the other day.
Oh yeah, I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah, and I ran into a couple people that we went to school with back in the day, and one of the people I haven't seen for a long time. But I haven't really been doing a lot of small talk because I haven't gone to the bars. I haven't really met a lot of people because of COVID. So I think I was a little rusty. And so I saw one of the people from high school, and it was I walked away from that conversation. It was really short. And I walked from the conversation. I was like, oh my gosh, that was so awkward. Oh my God, I was worried. I should have asked some more conversations. How you been? What you been up to? What are you doing? Things like that. And it was just like, hey, how's it going? Like, it was very simple, very, very bad of a conversation piece. So that's going to be something that I think over time, as things open back up, is cleaning up, refining my small talk skills.
I mean, I don't know. That sounded okay to me. That would have been the extent of a conversation I would be able to have. So I don't know. Maybe that's a reflection upon my ability to have those types of talks.
I just felt bad. I mean, I felt bad afterwards. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen the guy for ages. I mean, and it was very, very short kind of thing of the conversations and things like that. And I was like, well, hopefully he doesn't feel like I was a jerk right there.
And technically, we're still not supposed to be all that close to people. So I don't think anybody knows what to do. So I think that awkward is just the new in.
Yeah, I mean, it's I've seen some stuff like on TikTok where people are joking about them going back to the bars and trying to pick up people. And it's like, oh, hi, like, you know, really, really awkward kind of situation. So I know you don't go to the bars, but just in the interactions of meeting other people will be interesting as that kind of opens back up.
Yeah, luckily I've never been a small talk person, so hopefully it'll bring people down to my level.
I mean, it is always kind of funny,
as we talked about, but
it is always kind of funny how you have that like I think we've talked about it before, like have that general interaction where you're trying, okay, where are you from? Where are you this? Where are you that? I mean, it would definitely be nice to jump past that small talk and dive deeper into the conversation. Maybe after, that first 30 minutes, kind of get it out of the way and then go into like the nuts and bolts of who the person is.
30 minutes, that's a long time to do that.
Oh, some people go, I mean, I'd say maybe like for the small talk, you're talking about what, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes based on how long the person's talking?
I skip right past that.
Oh, God. What's your name? John? Oh, hi, John. What do you think about the meaning of life?
Basically, yeah. Got to get to that good stuff. I have limited time, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think if you could jump past that and have that ability, which I don't have yet, is going back to the meat and potatoes of who the person is and see if there's basically a reason for long-term interaction.
Well, hopefully happiness will be on the rise for the majority, though, as we move in a direction of, I don't quite want to say normality, but closer to what used to be normality in certain ways, but growth in other ways.
It'll be interesting to see, the idea of as things open up, how many people are going to be breaking up from their relationships, how many people are going to be basically choosing a new set of people to hang out with, new set of friends, new set of people. Because in these times right here, you've been surrounded by whoever it might be, right? If you're living together or if those are the people you're interacting with, and you'll have a better assessment if you want to keep interacting with those same people.
I haven't heard much about, I heard when this started about how that was going to be a big thing, but I haven't heard really since, statistically speaking, if it had come to light.
Well, for everyone listening, if you're coming to San Diego, happiness for me is Padre baseball back, going to Petco Park as they free up, open things up. So that's happiness for me right now. Huge baseball fan. I know for Carini, it's going to the zoo, taking his runs, Balboa Park. Am I right?
Yeah, I've got a weird little injury right now, though, so I have to keep that somewhat limited. And the zoo limited capacity. And the other thing that I've noticed that I have to admit is not making me happy is what I'm seeing is the increase in costs for everything around San Diego. Everything costs rising. And that's going to be a challenge for me because I built my life based on a principle and concept of limited overhead so that I could work within my means. And now it seems that my means are going to have to grow in order to keep up with all the changing costs around town. Many, I think, that are due to this past year.
Yeah. Well, for you guys listening, what's your happiness? What's your piece of happiness for if you live in San Diego, if you live somewhere else? What do you define as being happy? What are those moments you're like, oh my gosh, this is great happiness? And I know we're gonna have people responding back saying, oh my gosh, I find happiness in everything. I find happiness in basically taking the trash out, and maybe you have that ability to do that, find happiness in everything. I think for at least for myself, at least for Carini, I mean, there's moments that I think we find more happiness in than others. Right.
There's definitely relief taking the trash out, though.
Emotional trash out. Well, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for being part of this. Please subscribe, please share, and of course, tell your friend. Thanks, everyone.